It's an industry that I generally love. I have a passion for. I eat, sleep, I live for fitness.
No, you need to be obsessed. You need to wake up, think about it. You need to go to bed, think about your clients, think about your progress, think about what you can do better.
Genuinely, just be patient and take your time. That is you've got to take it all in the right steps. You've got to nail what you do in person before you go online.
I don't like to talk about fear. The fears is usually something that makes your worries real.
Welcome to the Coaching Ignited podcast. I'm your host, Alex Povey. It's great to have you here. This show is all about peeling back the curtain on what's going to help you build the fitness business you truly want. And each week we bring on a new guest to share their stories, insights, and strategies so you too can take action and apply what you learn. The podcast is released every Wednesday on all the major platforms, including Spotify and iTunes, so make sure you go give that a subscribe, guys. Now, if you're a personal trainer in a commercial gym with 500 plus members and you want to fast track your income growth and learn how to sign multiple new clients a week, reach out to me personally through Facebook or Instagram and just drop me a private message so we can get the conversation started and see if you could be a good fit for one of our programs. All the links to my social can be found in the show notes so you can connect with me there. Now let's get into this week's episode. Enjoy the show. Hey, welcome back to another episode. Feels like we're churning through these at the moment and they come around so quickly. But I just want to kick things off by saying thank you for tuning in to last week's episode where I did a solo cast all on performance hacking. If you haven't heard that already, make sure that you go back to last week's episode, give it a listen, let me know what you think. And I think I'm going to be doing one of those again in the future. Now on today's episode, we're welcoming on Adam Hayley, and he's a well-respected online trainer, business mentor, and founder of the Online Trainer Education Company. And Adam has a track record of helping PTs transition away from the gym floor and into online coaching, whilst often helping them earn double the amount they've earned on the gym floor. So really just helping people expand and grow their business, increase their income, and increase their overall impact in the fitness space. And he does this by teaching them how to fast track their client results, as well as how to consistently write content that sells. And something that I love about Adam is he doesn't just focus on the marketing and sales tactics, he really focuses on getting client results to then help his mentees and coaches use that as their best marketing resources to then go out into the marketplace, get more leads and clients, and continue building and growing a long-term sustainable business. So we're going to make this super practical. We're going to explore Adam's personal transition from the gym floor to now working with online clients and significantly increasing his revenue and overall impact in the space. And then we're going to give you those simple steps that you can take to get started online and create another opportunity to expand and grow your fitness business too. So let's get into this week's episode. I want to welcome you onto the podcast, Adam. It's great to have you here. Been following you for a while, been looking at your content, really love what you're doing and the stuff that you're putting out there. And I think you're really going to resonate with this audience today because there'll be a lot of PTs listening to this show that are working on the gym floor, hustling away one-to-one PT, trying to get their businesses going, or they've been doing it for a while and they're looking at other options out there to grow and scale their business. And as we know, online coaching is super trendy right now and it's the place to be with technology and growth. So we're going to dive into that in a second. But before we do, I'd love to give people an insight into your journey because you actually started on the gym floor, right? And now you are doing more online stuff. So let's just take it back to where you started and then we'll go into some more tactical and strategy based stuff as we get into the podcast.
Cool. All right. So I'll try to keep it pretty brief. Right. So I got into the industry when I was 15. I was doing rugby, boxing, football, had to have both my legs broken and was in a wheelchair for 8 weeks, non-weight bearing. As you can imagine, got super skinny at the end of it. Legs just atrophied massively. The physio advice I was given was terrible. Hence, I got into gym work myself, just to rehab myself, get some size back. And then from there, I thought, you know what, I enjoy this. So at 16, did my first qualification, started working the gym floor, worked at a small sort of 600 and 700 member capacity site. Then went to somewhere that had about 3,500, 4,000 member capacity, and then ended up working in London for quite high-end one-on-one PT place, and loved it. But this is where I'll start to transition to where I'm at now. As you know, when you've been doing it for a while on the gym floor, like it just crushes you in terms of the hours you have to do. So when I was in London for 5 years, I was working 6 days a week on the gym floor. I was up at 4:30 in the morning to get on a 4:55 train. I'd head in and I'd train my clients until about, last session was at 8 p.m. So I'd finish at 9 and I'd get home at about 11:30. So I live near Gatwick, so about an hour and a half away from London. So it's about a 3-hour round trip, 4 to 5 hours if there were delays, which, as you can imagine, there always were.
It's a lot of traveling.
Yeah, dude. And just a lot of hours out the house. Like I was getting on average maybe 3-4 hours sleep a night max. My ex-girlfriend that I was with at the time would literally, I'd wake her up in the morning, she'd drop me at the local train station, she'd go back to bed for a couple of hours, she'd then go work, chill in the evening, go to the gym 9 o'clock till 10. Then she would sit outside the train station and wait for me. And I'd come home drained, as you can imagine. I'd eat and go to sleep. And it was like, that was it. Sundays were our one day off. And that's where I'd be catching up with sort of online work, programming, or just sleeping because I was so screwed. So it was, it was great because I got a lot of experience under my belt, worked with a lot of clients, got a lot of transformations, learned a lot of the stuff that I know now, but quality of life suffered massively. So there was that, coupled with the fact that at the time she actually worked for Virgin Holidays, so she could get us amazing discounts and stuff. And she would say to me, "Oh, let's go and do 2 weeks in the Caribbean. I can get it for this amount." And any PT listening to this will know that the idea of taking 2 weeks off the gym is just like suicide financially, because you don't get paid for those 2 weeks. Plus you've got the cost of the holiday on top. And then all of the stress of wondering if you're going to piss your clients off, if other trainers are going to poach them. And this goes into it. So really I could take 1 or 2 holidays a year for like 5 nights max. And even then I'd be there panicking, thinking, paying to go to the water park that day or something. And then it's like, I'm paying on this on top of my earnings, so it amplifies it. I was doing online coaching on the side and really, really enjoyed it. I'm naturally quite introverted by nature. And I think, the best PTs in terms of attracting clients, picking up clients, I'm not talking about skill set as a trainer. I'm talking about being able to fill up very quickly, usually are going to be quite extroverted on the gym floor because they're fine with cold approaching people, making small talk. People that are introverted, small talk is, like the worst thing in the world. So going to do that cold with somebody you don't know can be a challenge, and people listening to this are probably nodding their head at this. So online coaching is the perfect way of dealing with your clients and attracting clients, because you can put written word out there, you can think before you speak, you have a purpose when you post and whatnot. So anyway, so I was doing it on the side, really, really enjoyed it. And I remember saying to people, one day I'd love to just do all my work from my laptop. Like my dream would be have an office, do it all from my laptop, maybe train the odd person here and there out of fulfillment versus having to. And eventually I took a risk, went all in with it. It paid off. I set up a business called R&T Fitness with my ex-business partner. It just blew up, thankfully. It was a risk. But with the beauty of online coaching is, aside from the freedom and financial stuff we can talk through in a second, the real benefit to it is that there are no overheads. Like, most PT's progression is to usually think, one day I'll own a gym. And that's amazing, but then you've got all the overheads, staff, insurance, electricity, you name it. With online coaching, the biggest risk is that you don't make money, because you've probably already got a laptop and you've probably already got Wi-Fi. So it's like the worst case scenario is that you don't earn anything. So we went into it with this, we saved up 3 or 4 months of wages, had it in our account just in case. Thankfully, we didn't have to touch into it. And that took off. And then about 18 months in, Akash and I were on different wavelengths. I walked away from R&T, took a proportion of my own clients under my own wing, under Adam Hayley again, and then sat there and thought, I'm really enjoying helping trainers. I taught seminars to trainers previously, Hong Kong, Amsterdam, all this sort of stuff. Got a massive buzz out of it. So I remember I split with my ex-girlfriend on a Saturday. split with my ex-business partner on the Sunday. That night, I was on a flight to Dubai, overnight flight. So I split with him at 9 a.m. On 10 o'clock that night, I was on a flight, landed in Dubai the next morning, sat at the pool thinking, what do I do next? Got pen and paper and just thought, I love doing what I've done, you know? And I was helping people coming to me privately saying, can you help me come off the gym floor too? And that's, you know, how I got to where I am now, which is mentoring other trainers to do the same. So trainers that are on the gym floor have kind of, you know, paid their dues in the industry, so to speak, but are now fed up of the crazy hours or you're not being able to take holidays, the financial fluctuations. My goal is now just to help them make that transition and either run a hybrid of the two or eventually do what I've done and go all in the online. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome, man. I'd love to dive into the practicalities of the transition, because you mentioned when you're on the gym floor, and there'll be a lot of people listening to this who will be on the floor. Mm-hmm. So they'll be going through the motions, the same experiences that you have, maybe like doing all that travel and losing a lot of time that's not generating income. And they're trying to make this like transition online. And you talk about how you picked up some clients whilst you were doing the one-to-one, right?
Yes. I've actually been doing online training without it, you know, way before it's a buzz, for probably 8 years, maybe more. I wrote pen and paper, like literally like pen and paper in my bed with a calculator, spending about an hour and a half to create somebody's first plans, and then literally just typing it. You know, no Excel documents, no apps, nothing like that. No. And it was just born out of just talking to people that wanted to work with me but couldn't from a distance point of view. And online coaching didn't really have the name. It wasn't really called online coaching. It was just like, oh yeah, I can work with you. I can send you a diet plan. And that's how it all started. You know, just trying to monetize as many relationships with people as I could. Yeah,
I just want to talk about those, and maybe the market is different. Well, in fact, I know it's different now. So how it was eight years ago, like it would have been much easier to pick up clients because there wasn't so many online coaching pounding the same market, like hitting their DMs or posting. So how did you pick up those clients? And maybe let's explore how it's changing and how it's different now.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it was easier back then, because back then it was before the advent of bikini and physique and Instagram. These three things, so bikini category, men's physique, and Instagram, have been, in my opinion, what's completely transformed the industry. So I've competed in bodybuilding. Did my first show when it was either 19 or 20, which is 10 years ago. And I was considered a freak back then. Like, I was the only dude in my gym and in all my local gyms at the time competing. And I'd have people come up to me going, oh, I've heard you're competing in bodybuilding. Like, you know, that's where you get really veiny and horrible, isn't it? And it was a real anomaly to do so. Now, you know, if you're on Instagram and you go to the gym, you're weird if you haven't looked into competing. And it's really, like, when I first started competing, bikini, that didn't exist. It was when bikini and physique came along that suddenly fitness seemed much more attractive in general, and like body power. I went to that the first year it opened. It was half the size of what it is now, half the amount of people. I don't go to it now because I just think it's just packed and it's just over commercialized. Back when I went, it was people that were seriously into bodybuilding. And then you add Instagram on top now. It's just amplified it. So I don't think it was easier back then. I think the difference is that the clients I attracted were much more serious. And of course there wasn't as much competition, but then the way to get it out there was tougher. So it was really through word of mouth, or if I was at like family events and they're like, oh, you're a trainer, aren't you? Can I pick your brains? I'd love to work with you, but I live here. Oh, you know what? We could do something over email. That's how it started. And then also, I was big on forums back in the day. I was a little like, you know, geek when it comes to nutrition and training. And I used to be a member of a bodybuilding forum called UK Muscle. I was a member of like muscular development forums, bodybuilding.com forums, UK Muscle, and that was kind of the equivalent now of people hanging out on Instagram, Facebook groups. You know, back then it was internet forums. So I actually picked up quite a few clients from there as well. So although I was doing it, I need to be clear, I didn't have the client load that I do now. It was maybe 5 or 10 clients. And I was charging something stupid, like 50 quid a month. Like it was, it was not a lot of money. Hence why it was just a side hustle that I never knew could turn into what it has now.
So let's talk about when it got more serious, right? Would you say that was when you partnered up with your business partner, that's when things started to really grow? Or was it that tipping point when you went to Dubai and you knew that something big had to change? When did you realize that the online stuff had a lot of meat and you could really scale this thing up?
It was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I was working at the gym that I was working at in London. I'd already had online clients on the side. Facebook was pretty popular at that point, and I was helping a few people get ready for shows. And I picked up quite a few clients from that. And then I helped take over some of their online clients for the gym in London. And I said to them, you're missing a trick. Like, you should be putting more marketing into this. This is the way that it's going, especially with the name that business had and the reputation. So that's when I knew it could start to take off and do quite well. I worked up to maybe 20 to 30 clients for that gym, taking a percentage. And then I started giving my overflow of clients to Akash, my ex-business partner. He started getting busier. Then he got 2 or 3 inquiries out of the blue through posting on Facebook. And that's when we started thinking, maybe we could do something with this. So I remember we were teaching a seminar out in Hong Kong. It was a 2-day seminar. Day 1 was fat loss, day 2 was muscle growth. So the Hong Kong trainers and stuff out there. And we just got a bit drunk one night and said, screw it. Like, let's get serious about this. Let's go all in with the online stuff. So we started throwing ideas back and forth, how we're going to do it, various names, different ways of delivering it. And then what we realized is that we wouldn't be able to grow it while we were still working for this other gym. You weren't allowed to run your own business. So we literally had to handed in our notice in, I believe it was the April. We waited a whole month before doing it to make it clear that, this hadn't been going on previously. And then I think it was May the 15th, we officially launched it. So that's when it was like my brand, I'm going all in on this. But it was about 3 years prior to that when I realized, what, there's something to this, like it's growing. And then with Instagram suddenly gaining momentum, because it's a visual platform, I just thought, if I can put more time into Instagram and so show more social proof, and I think this is going to do quite well. I come from a family that are not entrepreneurial. They all work for other people. They all have bosses. You can imagine when I'm telling them, I'm jacking in my job in London. I'm going to sit behind my laptop and work. Even my own accountant was like, dude, are you sure? Like, yeah, I got a good feeling. It's like, well,
Let's talk about that for a second, because even being a PT in general, if you're self-employed, you're responsible for your own destiny and future and income. But you're taking it a step further. You're going into this online world. What would you say to anyone listening to this who's going to be faced with opposing views to follow a path that they want to follow? Because there'll be a lot of people out there, like friends and family, who they love you and they care about you, but they know fuck all about business and what you're trying to do. And you're going to get these outside influences from people who don't see what you're trying to do, even though it makes sense to you. How have you dealt with that along the way in the years? Because I'm sure you've had your fair share, like you said.
Yeah, look, I look at things real simple. The average person lives paycheck to paycheck, lives a very average life, takes 1 holiday a year, works for somebody else, puts money into a pension, lives safely. It doesn't fucking work. I mean, it does if you want to coast through life, just average and comfortable. That's never been what I want, I remember saying to my ex-girlfriend when I was 19, I remember saying to her, one day I'm gonna have an Aston Martin. That's my dream car. I watched all the Bond films. I love the whole English handmade thing. One day I'll have an Aston. The first thing she says is, oh, come on, get real. You're a gym trainer. And I said, right, well, somebody's got to drive me. Why can't I? If I work hard at this. She goes, come on, people have their roles in life. She goes, we're not that type of people. And it's that thinking that the average person does. You know, they just sit comfortably in their job, very risk averse, and they just don't want to affect the status quo. It's also why a lot of people are in relationships don't fulfill them, sidetracking. So anyway, so that has just never appealed to me. I'm always just about, you got one shot on this dust ball. You know, if you think about it, from up until 20, you're really kind of like, you know, school, education, learning the ropes and whatnot. And then from maybe, if you're lucky, maybe 80-ish is when you start having your arse wiped for you and whatnot. So you've really got like a 60-year window to live life on your terms. So it was just a kind of like looking into all of that, and I hope they don't listen to this, but like my parents and stuff, and just, you know, they just live very average, and that just average didn't appeal to me. So I just thought, right, if that's what everybody else does, I'm going to do something different. You have to take a risk, you know. And I've got you know, a friend that I went to school with who has ambitions to drive X car, to own X house, to be able to holiday whenever. But he's so risk averse. He'll come up with ideas and he'll pitch it to me, and I'm like, that's a fucking good idea. You know, it's a risk, but you should do it. He's been doing this 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And every time I go to pitch a new idea that I'm going to do, he's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, you know, suck it and see. Let's see what happens. So that's what I would say is people listening to this, and I'm probably going to sound brutal here, but I would guess close to 100% of the listeners like the idea of what you and I do. Close to 100. Like, why wouldn't you? But it's probably going to be like 10 or 15% of them have actually got the balls to take action. And that's what it will come down to. So if you're listening to this, it's just like, question yourself. Are you happy to go through uncertainty? You know, do you have the work ethic? Are you able to ride it when it's not so good, and still put in the work? If you are, then just give it a go. If you're the sort of person, because not everybody's built to do this. Like, I was on a call with a girl maybe about a year ago, just a call. You know, she wasn't part of my mentorship or anything. It was just me helping her out. And she broke down in tears on the phone. So she worked on the gym floor. She'd been trying to build the online. It wasn't quite going where it was. She broke down to tears on this call. And she's to me like, I don't think I should be in the industry. You know, I don't think I'm good enough for it. And I stopped her and I said, look, you get amazing results with your clients. You look phenomenal yourself. You're super passionate. You are in the right industry. But I don't think you're built for running your own business. That's the difference. That you should probably just keep your head down and work for somebody else. And
I think it's okay, like anyone listening to this, it's okay not to be an entrepreneur or a business owner or run a multiple 6-figure coaching company, because like that's not the path for everyone. Like, it sounds good, it sounds fun, but what I say to people, like, if you want it, you really need to know why, like what is motivating you to do it. And if you really want it, you also have to, one, get comfortable with the fact that it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, right? So if you want all the luxuries, if you want the nice watches, the cars, the holiday, the freedom, be prepared to take all the problems that come with creating those luxuries. Because there's two sides to the coin. But I find that the sweet part of the equation, because if you didn't have like the downs, you wouldn't really feel the ups. And there's always an opposite, right? It's like up and down, hot and cold, black and white, day and night. So with a business, and people will look at you and they'll see you successful, wearing nice clothes, you've got a nice watch, you're driving nice cars, you're going on holidays. I bet you take a lot of shit though, and you have a lot of sleepless nights as well. Anxiety, things breaking, things going wrong, products not working, results not happening the way they should. It's not all just like plain sailing, and people just look from the outside and go, just easy, I want to be there, but they're not prepared to take the downside that comes with it. What's your take on that?
100%. It's definitely not all highs. Instagram, you know, the downside to Instagram, of course, and social media in general, typically somebody's highlight reel. You know, it wouldn't be exciting if I was to post the days when I'm just sat on the sofa in my underwear, you know, thinking, what the, you know,
doing client check-ins. Just that's the
thing, right? They just see the highs, they see the travel and stuff like that. They don't see the fact that, you know, I've lost friends, as well as relationships. I even wasn't, you know, that close to my family. It's only recently my immediate family that I've really made an effort to speak to because I had this big goal of, getting to a certain point. I made sacrifices there, whether right or wrong. And then there's, as you said, there's a stress when it doesn't go right as well. So, if I get drop-offs or something like that, or if I'm not hitting the sales that I want, then you start questioning it like, am I cut out for this? What am I doing wrong? Blah, 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 blah. You have that inner questioning, which then conversely, when it goes high, it puts you on cloud 9, which is awesome. And I'm human, and I'm sure you get this. You get the odd day where you're just in a funk.
Yeah.
Like, and the problem is most people let those few hours of a funk or a day max turn into multiple days and so on. It's no different to a client who cheats on their diet, once and then goes, oh, fuck it, and then they eat shit for the rest of the week, go back to square one. It's the same in business too, is you might do a launch that flops. You're going to be pissed off. You're going to be down for a few hours.
For sure.
Pick yourself back up, keep going. Put one step, in front of the other, day after day, basically. And that's the difference, I think.
Yeah.
The people that are successful is the ones that can go through those little low periods, accept that it's a low, take it on the chin, and then just keep moving forwards. And if you're trained to listen to this, the same analogy applies to your clients. The ones that can fluctuate on the scales and still turn up and eat the right food, and still get their steps and still go train, they're the ones that at the end of the process will look considerably better. It's the same with you and I doing this, is put something on socials, doesn't go the way that we want. Instead of not posting for the next week, we come up with something new the next day.
Yeah. It's about the response, isn't it? Like, and going back to the mindset stuff, like a lot of people will get like a bad knock, or they'll get hit from an angle they weren't expecting. And then, like you said, they'll go into a slump. But like, if you're growing and really on a mission to build your business, you're going to get hit with more things. So you're actually going to get more comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, because you almost get used to getting knocked. It's almost just like you're in a boxing match, right? You're getting jab, 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 and then you're actually learning how to dodge certain like knockout shots, because you're getting a bit more nimble. And like, one of the big things for me that I've been practicing for a long time is just building like a really solid mindset, so that when something does come along that would normally like derail most people, I can probably recover in a couple of hours. So something really big as well. So I'll get hit really hard, and in the moment I'll feel terrible. I'll be like, fuck, I'm in trouble here, or why did that happen? And then it'll be like, okay, I need to navigate a situation. Maybe I need to journal for 20 minutes. Maybe I need to get down the gym and just train and just beast my body, get in the sauna. But I know what the levers are to get me out of the bad zone, because it's about self-awareness. And I think that's one of the biggest things I take away from building a business is self-awareness. It's not just the money and the material things or the success and the praise. It's like understanding yourself. This is one of the best ways to learn about yourself, is going through business, going through choppy waters and seeing how you respond, and trying to build yourself to be a better personal character to kind of navigate the choppy waters, right?
100%. The other thing, and it was literally like yesterday, I was telling somebody this, which is why it's fresh in my mind at the moment. The other thing is, no matter how overwhelmed you are, say you're in the middle, say you're working with you, for example, it's one of your clients. You've given them tasks to do. They're at the beginning of this, and they're super overwhelmed, comparing themselves to everybody else, and thinking, I don't know, I'm going to manage all this. Stuff that you find overwhelming and difficult now, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, you look at this and you laugh. This is it. You really grow from it. I remember stuff that was stressing me out and thinking, I can't do this, 2 years ago, that now I can do in my sleep. And then if your business grows correctly, you should be facing new problems. Continuously. Every few months there'll be a new problem, and then you deal with it. Overwhelms you at the time, you deal with it, you move on. Before you know it, you can just carry many plates at the same time, spin many plates. And that's something that I was talking to somebody about the other day. She was messaging me saying, I'm so overwhelmed with everything. So trust me, everything you're overwhelmed with right now, I had the same thing 2-3 years ago. Now I can do that, one eye closed, no problem. And this is another thing to those that are going through this period at the moment, just keep turning up. Like, you'll get better at it, and then relish it. Take on that mindset of, okay, what's the next challenge? This has made me feel uncomfortable. I've done it. What's the next one? Okay, tick that off. Do it. Before you know it, you're just able to mentally tap into loads of things.
Yeah, I would say as well, to add to that, just like lean into it. I had like a couple of weeks ago when I called my business partner, I was like, I want to feel more stressed. Do you know, like when you almost like seek to be under pressure sometimes because you're so like used to being under pressure. I'm like, I don't feel like I have enough going on. I want more. Like crank up the Facebook ads, do it. I want to be like rammed. And then when it comes and I'm overwhelmed and I say I'm overwhelmed, he was like, you asked for it, you've got it now, deal with it. and sometimes it's a weird relationship with the overwhelm and the anxiety. I'm almost like seeking for it as a barometer that I'm growing, because like nothing grows unless there's pressure. And it's the same with the gym. Like any trainer can relate like growing a muscle to putting it under a lot of tension and stress. And that's what you've got to do in business. If you want it to grow, you want more profits, you want more growth, you want more clients, you've got to put yourself under pressure in order to grow as a person and grow as a business.
Exactly. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like those periods of overwhelm and anxiety, they're not nice when you're going through them. No. And it is stressful. I have like my close friends that know what I'm like, and they'll just message me going like, are you alive? We haven't heard from you for a few days. I'm like, yeah, just dealing with it. And then you come through it and you get the sense of, achievement, you grow from it, you learn from it, you box it away. Okay, cool, I've done that now. And then you move on to this cycle again where just like you reach out, let's make it tougher again, let's step it up a notch.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that, these periods where you push for this anxiety and stuff, it's not to say they're enjoyable, because they're pretty fucking tough when shit hits the fan.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I want to make this super practical. Not that it hasn't been already. Like we've covered some cool stuff already. I'm sure the listeners have got a ton of value. But obviously this show and the theme that we discussed was like that transition from offline face-to-face on the gym floor to then exploring the online world. And I imagine a lot of people have got misconceptions about how it all works, and I know you're big on actually not just helping people go online with the marketing and sales, but actually getting clients results as well. So we can dive into that, but I think if we can just do it step by step, it will be really valuable for people. So like if you were taking on maybe like a new trainer or a new group of trainers right now, starting from scratch, they're working maybe 15 hours for the gym and they've got maybe 10 or 15 clients, and they want to transition online. What are some of the first things that you'd look at with them to help them make that transition? Maybe you like show them how to source the easiest batch of leads, or you structure their niche, or what is it that you would do to get someone off the ground?
Yeah, first thing I do is just get them consistently posting on social media. And initially, and the first question is like, what do I post? And I say, I don't give a shit. Just start posting. Just get into the habit. 3 to 5 days per week, preferably 5, just turn up. Just post, just give value. Don't care about everyone else. Don't compare your posts with other people's. Don't worry about engagement. Just get into the habit of writing and getting it up.
Yeah.
It's the first thing. Second thing that I would do in an ideal world, if I've got time to work with them, is look at their results and audit how they work with their clients, because this is the bit that I see in my opinion, other business coaches missing, is they obviously just focus on business, whereas I'm very big on most of the most successful online coaches that you see are there because they've got really good social proof and client results. I'm seeing a lot of people get into the industry and focus on becoming a good marketer, a good copywriter, before they've actually become a good trainer. So I actually work with my clients as well in their calls on what they should do with client X, and let's get some jaw-dropping transformations, and then let's start ramping up. So I try and actually cover most of that before I really go into lead generation, because I'm trying to build them a genuine business. I don't want this overnight flash in the pan thing that crashes and burns. I want something that they can get into, they can truly scale it, it's sustainable. That's really important for me. So I want to make sure they're a good trainer. There's a quote from Jonathan Goodman, and you can't beat it. Do a good job, let everybody know about it. So the do a good job part is getting fucking results consistently, like dramatic results. And I don't mean the before and afters people put up with a client's lost 4 pounds. That's your fucking job. Like, that's not a transformation. A transformation is where it's visually like, holy shit. So that's the first part. And then the second part in terms of tell everyone about it is, of course, your message on social media. So the first thing I do is try and make people a really good coach. And then I try and get them into the habit of switching off from thinking it's social media. You know, most people go on social media and they do it for their own personal fulfillment, you know, post up here and there. I'm trying to teach them this is now business media. Like, this is the equivalent of you correcting your client's shoulders, you know, when they collapse through a press, or, you know, when they're doing a leg press and their knees are falling in. It's your job as a proactive trainer to be, right, as boring as it is and repetitive as it is, push your knees out, keep them in line, blah, 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 blah. Same with content production. You're going to get days where you don't want to put anything up, where you don't want a story. It's now your fucking job. Like, you're not going to get paid if you don't do it. Your business isn't going to grow. So that's the thing I do. And then from there, once I've got them doing the absolute basics and they're at that foundation level, then I get clear on who they want to work with, what issues that person has. So is it that they, you know, their clientele maybe, I don't know, overeat at the weekends, they self-sabotage at the weekends? Or is it that they jump from diet to diet to diet? Like, whatever their problems are, I then try and get my students to write towards those problems and start giving them real world solutions, and don't hold anything back. This is, again, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to give it all out over social media because then nobody will pay me. What else do I give them? It's the complete opposite. For anyone listening to this, go read The Strategy of Preeminence by Jay Abraham. It's really interesting. It's just about being a good human, but it works really well. So I get them to do that, and then I start working on their call to actions, and then it's consistency and showing social proof. It's really nothing groundbreaking. But when you put it all together consistently over time, it just snowballs. And that's what I do. So I don't try and teach any fancy hacks or anything. There may be a few bits that I'll teach them to get some quick wins. But for the most part, I look at a lot of that as, especially with beginners first getting into all of this, it's almost like taking an overweight client and just put them straight into a low carb diet. They'll get a couple of mini wins, but they're not really learning the principles of energy balance and, you know, good habits. That's why I focus on all of the foundational stuff at the beginning and explain to them, on this call, you're wanting me to give you some magic bullet. That's not my style. If you want that, go hire somebody else. You know, I'm teaching you this from the ground up. It's going to take a little while to get it going, but when it does, it's just going to carry on. It's going to snowball, build momentum. And you'll be surprised where it can end up.
What are your recommendations on platforms right now? I know you are very avid on Instagram, right? Did you start out on Facebook, or did you always? Oh, you did.
Started on Facebook, segued onto Instagram, and now 90 to 95% of my income probably comes from Instagram.
Why do you think Instagram works so well? I know why it works so well, obviously, for the type of product that you're selling, right? It's visual, but like, for the listeners, why does Instagram work so well for you? And like, what's some of the key things that people should be sticking to? So what guidelines would you keep people into when it comes to like posting and using Instagram as like business media versus social media?
Yeah, okay. So I think the two big reasons that it works really well for our demographic is, one, as you said, it's a visual platform, and we're trying to sell a visual result, i.e. transformations. Secondly is, right now, it's just one of the busiest platforms. You know, you could argue that Facebook probably has more visits per day and stuff, but actual total interactions on Facebook are nosediving over time. I've got graphs and everything to look at that, whereas Instagram seems to be on the up and up. You know, organic reach might be slowly declining, but that's kind of to be expected. I warned people of this. But for the most part, it's because it's a visual platform, and right now it's almost the go-to platform.
Yeah.
So that's why it works. In terms of guiding principles, I would say you need to be on stories daily, and with stories, don't overthink it. They expire within 24 hours. Like, just be real. I put up a shitty meme every day that's borderline offensive.
I see them, I giggle at them.
Yeah, that's like my daily thing is I'll try and put up one meme every morning just to make people laugh or have them unfollow me if it offends them. Yeah. So Instagram stories wants to be like a little snapshot into you, you know? So for me, it's, I love my favorite drinks in old fashioned. So if I go out to a restaurant or a cocktail bar, I snap that. That's then had clients try their first ones and tag me in it. I've got 7, I counted literally last night in front of somebody, I've got 7 bottles of bourbon in my cupboard here. I don't really drink at home, but it's where people have associated that through my Instagram stories. but they then buy me bottles of bourbon, you know, at Christmas and stuff. So you really want to show like a bit of you. You want to give value on it. You can sell on it maybe probably 2 to 4 times per week. You know, problem, solution, deliver a call to action, and then sell off the back of it. I think that's really powerful. But for the most part, I think Instagram is like TV now, you know? If EastEnders wasn't on at whatever time it is, I don't know, 7 or 8 p.m.
You know what time it's on. You tune in every week.
I've got it Sky Plus, mate. I don't need to. But you know, people would kick off if it wasn't on. And it's the same with stories, as people start to become used to your patterns and stuff.
Yeah.
So you need to be on it quite regularly. And as I said, don't overthink it. Give some value, but let people see the real you, and don't be afraid of putting up things that might not please everybody. So I have my memes, right, which I know definitely offend some people, especially the vegan ones. Then, you know, like my car. I'm a petrol head. I love cars. I've got a car that I know will be a little bit divisive, and maybe say 50% of people will look at that and think arrogant, show off, wanker. Great, no problem. You've got a different mindset to me.
Yeah.
You're not putting money in my pocket. You're not going to invest. No problem. Then there's going to be 25% that are just petrol heads too. There's going to be 25% that it's going to actually like inspire. But either way, I know that about 50% of people are going to resonate with it because they're also into cars. To the point I even had a client go to the Goodwood Festival of Speed and buy me the t-shirt of my car. And then when I went to his photo shoot about 3 months later, at the end of the shoot, he thanked me and gave me this t-shirt because he's a big petrol head too. I've had other clients on my mentorship that are into trainers and stuff and collecting certain trainers. So they'll do like sneaker Saturdays, and you know, they'll put that up in stories. So I think stories is really important to put your personality across, no matter what it is, and don't worry if it's not to everybody's taste. Then your feed is that's where you really make your first impression with somebody. Typically, you know, somebody will go into your feed for the first time. So
like
I think
shop front.
What's it? Sorry.
So kind of like a shop front, right? That's
Yes.
how I look at it. Like it's the shop front of like Gucci or Harrods or whatever. Then in the stories is where they enter the shop, and then you can get a bit more personal, have those interactions with the CTAs and the sell.
Precisely. Yeah. So for that reason, I think 90% of your posts on your feed should be value driven. So where I've said that your stories, you can be a bit personal, a bit more lighthearted. Your feed should be most of the time putting your best foot forwards, your best content, make it try and look aesthetically pleasing, if that's the right word, but still put the odd element of you in it. So I will typically do like a flashback Friday, and that will be either of me competing or on holidays or at a restaurant. And that's just something personal to me. I'll still try and tie a lesson into it. So those are the first 2 lessons, feed and stories. Third one is social proof. Like this is the big one. So every mentorship that I've done, so the business OT is a year old now. Every mentorship that I've done, I've sold out, luckily. But it's taken for me to hustle hard, you know, on stories, videos, DMs, to do so. Now, in the past 4 to 6 weeks, I've got people buying my product cold, which was my goal. You know, they're just going on my website now and buying it, which I hadn't had before.
I had a look at your website, by the way. If anyone hasn't seen it, just give everyone the link now, because it's actually mapped out really, really nicely.
Thank you.
And I went on it really, really nicely, the way it flows and very clear. And you've even got your prices on there, right? You're not hiding anything, which is great. So you're not like pushing people just to book a phone call to then sell them into a...
No, I'm very transparent with everything.
Yeah, which I loved. So what is the URL so people can have a look at that?
It's real simple. It's just onlinetrainereducation.com. Super simple. There are some tweaks that are going to get done to it, actually, just to refine it a bit further. I'm glad that you think it's pretty good as it is.
Do you know what I liked about it? How you mapped out the modules of what you cover in your program. And that's why I noticed that you actually cover a lot of like getting results versus like just sales and marketing tactics, which is what we're big on as well with the OTF is getting results, not just teaching just the salesy stuff and the marketing stuff. And most of your program is based around that, because going back to the quote, right, from
do a good job, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just do a good job, and then that's going to be your biggest marketing asset anyway. So I love how you've laid that out and made it a focal point of your business and your offering. So basically it's 10 modules.
2 of them are specifically on business. Doesn't sound like a lot, but they're fucking in depth. And then on top of those 2 modules, you then have one-to-one calls with me, and that's also business. So overall business probably makes up like 40% of it, which is, I mean, my best results so far, and bear in mind, I don't do any Facebook ads or anything, it's all organic. My best result so far is somebody has started it on just under $2,000 a month. He was earning from one-to-one and in person. And 6 weeks in, he Facebook messaged me going, oh my God, I've just earned over 15 grand just from online. So I get a lot of trainers message saying like, oh, you know, I was really thinking it was going to be all business. And I go through their Instagram profiles and I'm brutally honest. And I go, look, you're going to think I'm a massive dickhead here, but you don't need loads of business. You need loads of overall making you a better fucking trainer as well as business. So my goal with the OT is to make people really confident online coaches as well as teaching them the business.
I just
want my best students get the best results.
Yeah, I want to unpack that as well because like I see a lot of Facebook ads because like you probably do as well because we're both in the space. There's a ton of Facebook gurus pitching their offers, become an online coach. And I always like to read the comments. And this is something that Gary Vee does. And I think it's better than looking at the ads themselves. I like to see the response to the ads and what people are thinking to really get a read on the market. What I always notice when I look at comments, there's a lot of things that come up, but one of the things that come up is almost like a disbelief around being able to coach people online.
Yes.
You know, from the traditional offline trainers, maybe they're old school guys, but like the one-to-one trainers, I noticed in the comments, I'm like, how can you train people online and charge for that? How can you, how is it even possible? Some people can't even comprehend the process of coaching people online. So if you saw one of those comments, what would you be thinking or what would you be saying to that person if you were engaging? And they said, this is bullshit. You can't train people online. How do you correct their form? How do you get them results?
I think that they're stuck in 2009 instead of 2019. You absolutely can. So, okay, is it going to be optimal for a complete beginner that's never been to the gym and doesn't have motivation and whatnot? Probably not. And I'm very clear on this. And if somebody says to me that, you know, I hate going to the gym, I hate this, you're probably going to be better hiring an in-person PT. I'm going to be transparent with you. That's my view. But for those that have the motivation but haven't connected the dots and they sort of know their way around the gym, online training is fantastic. You know, if they wanted to just work with a one-to-one PT, they're limited by location as to the trainers in their local gyms. And I hate to generalize, but most PTs, especially local to me, are pretty poor. So if a client is willing to invest in somebody online, they've now opened the market as to the quality of trainer they could work with, assuming they hire a good online coach. In terms of the technique side of things, I have a video exercise library of me demonstrating exercises, how I want them to be done. I send that over to the client. And then I also urge them, usually, depending on their experience level, I'll urge them to record their top set of specific exercises and send it over to me to critique them. So I can go, okay, let's slow down the rep next week. Okay, on the deadlift, make sure you're actually resetting it on the floor. Let's start from, pull tension on the bar, drive your elbows into your lats or whatever, then initiate the movement. So you can definitely work around it. The trainers that say that you can't get online results, I think they're being a little bit closed-minded and archaic. And for anyone that wants to check it out, this isn't meant to be a plug or anything, but genuinely just go to either my Instagram page, which is at Adam Hayley, then the number 1, and you'll see my results there. Every single one of them was online. You can go to a guy called Steve McGrath, at Coach Steve McGrath, so S-T-E McGrath. His results are all being done online. Just to show I'm not being biased, I'll even tell you my ex-business partners who I have no interest obviously in helping him grow his business, but just for transparency, at Akash Vaghela, Vaghela. Go check his results for the last 3 years. He's been exclusively online. You can't, if you've got a good online coach that has attention to detail, knows how to cue people properly online, the results can be phenomenal. A fraction of the cost.
Let's just unpack the accountability piece, because I think people might perceive the accountability piece to be if I can see someone face to face, I can keep them accountable. But if I've got them online, then I don't have that one-to-one relationship where I can make them accountable. What mechanism do you use to make that possible?
Yeah. Okay. So first thing is setting like clear goals and going after it, and not just letting your clients get away with it when they screw up. Don't just give them that proverbial pat on the back. It's huge. Second thing is, depending on the type of client, something that one of my students does, which is a really good idea. If you are working with those beginner intermediate clients, he actually has the broadcast lists loaded into WhatsApp, and he'll just periodically send out a message to all of his clients on WhatsApp. It's one message, but gets sent to all of them, and he grades them into priorities. So red clients will be the beginners, amber will be in the intermediates, green being the advanced.
Yeah.
And then the clients that need the most attention, he'll just send them the odd message, just, hey, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing that. Huge. Getting clients to send you food diaries proactively massively increases accountability. What I'll do with my clients that have been with me for a while, if I sense that they start going off the boil, I'll just message them and go, let's jump on a call. It's not something I offer within my service typically, so it's like a surprise to them, and it's me going above and beyond. If I've got online clients that live locally, I'll message them and go, hey, let's just go for a coffee. I'm doing that on next Friday with one of my clients. So there are ways that you can keep them accountable. And of course, them following you on social media is huge, because they're seeing you practice what you preach, hopefully. I know it's powerful for my students on the mentorship that they look at me and how often I post, how I interact, the style of posting, social proof of I'm living, I go on holiday, I have the car that I'd wanted and that sort of thing. So it's showing, oh, okay, this guy is actually, doing what he's telling us. This isn't smoke and mirrors. So if you're, still a trainer and your goal is physique improvement with your clients, have a good physique, demonstrate that you're still training. That will fire your clients up. And another thing actually is, especially if you've got Gen Pop clients, if they have a decent amount of lean tissue, photo shoots, they are phenomenal because it gives that time-sensitive deadline without the pressure of a competition. They're not going to be stood on stage being judged in their underwear. For a photo shoot, you don't have to be shredded, you just have to be lean. So I've had quite a lot of clients over the years do photo shoots that are like, 9 to 5 corporate desk job workers. And they're like, what, me? Photo shoot? Like, yeah, you look like a fucking rock star,
I love that. I love that.
It's really good.
I'm just thinking that would motivate me personally.
It does, because it gives you that time-sensitive goal. It's like, 9 weeks left, 8 weeks left, 7 weeks left. And then one of my best clients who's been with me for about 4 years online, maybe just over 4 years, he comes from an accounting background. I remember mentioning a photo shoot to him for the first time, and he was like, oh, I don't know what I'd be like in front of camera, but I said, don't worry about it. Like, we're not looking at your face. You're not modeling. Like, it's your physique. You're showing it off. Since then, he's done a shoot every single year. And the goal every year is to bring up weak body parts and then get him leaner each time. And it's great for motivation. So if you've never done it before, I'd pick 2 to 3 of your clients that seem, to be the most on it, and then mention it to them during a photo shoot. It's really good. And it's fun if you can get a group of them doing it on the same day.
I love that, man. That's really good. Because there's a consequence as well for inaction.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to be showing up on the day and not looking the best they possibly could, because there's a consequence to it.
Yeah, you either don't look as good as you can, and then that deep down, or you pull out the shoot and you lose out financially. So there's, you've got a bit of skin in the game, but without it being as obsessive or serious as, a bikini show or a physique competition.
Yeah, so it works for the general population versus just like people that are trying to get shredded, which is probably 5%, 1% of the market. There's not a lot of people that are prepared to do that.
No. Most of our clients just want to look, and it's always been this way. Most of them just want to look like the Men's Health cover model. Yeah. They just want to look hot. And it's the same for the girls. They just want to feel, sexy in a bikini. So being able to give them that and show them proof of it, so that they get to, just get their makeup done for the day, do their hair, get a bit of a tan. It just breaks up their 9 to 5. And I get so many of them that are like, oh my God, I didn't think I'd ever be able to do this. And it just really empowers them.
So I'd like to switch gears a little bit as well, just as we kind of move into the last little part of this podcast. I want to kind of get your perspective or views on where you think the online market is going, right? So like going into 2020, 2021, what are maybe some of the changes or trends or things that you're maybe seeing already because you're in the business that are about to come? Or is it just going to be the same as 2019? Like, what's on the cards? What's on the horizon?
Right now, I personally, maybe I'm oblivious to it, I don't see many changes in the short term. I see organic reach on social media, gradually petering off, which is normal. So I think that will be some degree of it. But aside from that, I don't think anything groundbreaking is going to happen in 2020. I think long term, what's happening, this was just something that got told to me a couple of years back, and it makes sense. And I don't know if it's already happening, but I would imagine the bigger companies, Under Armour and stuff, are probably developing some form of usable, wearable. You think we got Apple Watches?
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned this to me once, and I think it could go this way. Like a wearable T-shirt that takes biometrics and will accurately break down what you need to be doing in terms of macronutrients and so on. So I think that will be, my opinion, is that's going to be one of the next advancements. Don't know how far away it will be, but I still don't think that will negate the need of having a proper coach. Because if you remember, Lane Norton was affiliated with an app a couple of years ago, Avatar Nutrition, I think it was. It was said to be, the AI of apps and this, that, the other. Maybe I've got my head in the wrong place, but I don't really see much being said about it. I don't think many people have gone down that route. I think people still want that, at the moment anyway, human touch, which is why I don't personally I don't online coach my clients through apps, which some of my students do, and there's some merit to it, but it's why I still actively use email. And you can call me archaic, but I think it just adds again that like human element.
I think people get hung up on the deliverables as well, and it's not overly important, because I see it all the time in the groups and stuff, and people are like, what app should I choose? And they're scratching their head for weeks, like, should I use Trainerize?
Look, here's the thing.
Total coaching.
If your clients have come to you specifically, it's because they want a result, okay? They think that you are the person to get them from A to B as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible. They do not care whether you deliver that through an app, email, video message, fucking written down on a piece of paper and sent through carrier pigeon. Like, they don't care. As long as they've got access to you and you are the person that can get them to where they want to be, they don't really care how it's delivered. So you need to pick the method of delivery that is efficient for you, and that your clients find easy. So the three main ways of delivering online coaching right now, as I see it, is either through an app, where typically you'll white label an app. These are the ones you've mentioned: Trainerize, My PT Hub, True Coach, all that. You'll pay them a subscription fee each month. They'll put your logo on it. It'll appear like you've got an app, and you communicate with your clients through that. For me personally, my issues are that whenever I've experimented with them, there's been a little bit of functionality that I've missed, and it's just made it a step harder than how I currently do things with me. My second issue is that this is the OCD side of me. Until I could get an app developed myself, if it was worth it, I don't like the idea of trusting all of my clients to be held on somebody else's platform. If they do an update, if they go bust, if their servers are down, I can't speak to my clients if all of them are hosted purely through that. Whereas the chance of Gmail going down is, you'd like to think, relatively slim. But that said, I do have some clients that use the apps, and they rave about them. So I'm not discounting them. It's just, for me, it's not for me. The next thing, the other thing that's quite popular at the moment is video call, like a video recording, where you share your screen, you record it, 5-10 minute video and send it over to them. That got popularized, I think, in the UK mainly by Callum Raystrick, the Muscle Mentors guy. Now that works for him because his target demographic are other trainers that are detail oriented and want to indulge their inner geek. So they want to listen to every word that he's telling. So for him, it works really well. The other people it works well for, like one of the guys that helps teach on my mentorship, Ali, he takes over the biomechanics stuff. He holds his hands up and says, I'm not good at spelling and grammar. I hate writing. So online training, you need to be able to communicate well through written language. So he does video check-ins for that reason. But if you're training Gen Pop clients and you can write well, I think email is the most time efficient. versus sat there doing a 5-10 minute video. And although the client might find a video interesting the first maybe 3-4 weeks, when you've got busy clients, as I said, they don't care how it's delivered. They're not going to sit and listen to every word of a 6, 7, 8 minute video. They're going to just skip forward. Just tell me what to do with my macros. Pardon me. That's all they want to know. So that's the issue with the video side of it, is if you're targeting Gen Pop clients, I think it's the time that it takes isn't efficient. Then you set them up to expect it and they don't truly watch it. My way of doing it is email. I like it because I'm a fast typer. I'm very just efficient at it. I trust Gmail to be one of the most rigid things that's probably not going to go down for a while. And it's just simple for me. So there's no right or wrong. I just think there's pros and cons of each one. The key really is, as I said, you need to find it efficient and you try and make a decision early on with low client numbers. If you build up to say 50 clients and then you try switching a whole system, that's what it's like.
Yeah, you just decide on something and then just run with it.
Yeah, but just don't get paralysis by analysis. Just give one thing a go, split test it, 1 or 2 clients on each of them. Which one do you feel more comfortable with? Decide within a few weeks and just fucking go all in on it.
I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, bro. Really appreciate it. I felt like
no worries, thank you.
Topics. For anyone that wants to find more about your mentorship, I know we mentioned the link earlier on in the show, but where should people head? Your Instagram and your website for the guys listening.
Yes, if you want to go straight to the website, that's just onlinetrainereducation.com. I know one thing that a lot of PTs struggle with is taking money off of people. I know that I did. It's that whole financial thing. You just want to help people. So if you are struggling with that side of things, if you go onto the website and just scroll down literally like a centimeter, there's a free book on there that talks through that and alters your psychology on sales. So if you're struggling with that, head to the website, download that, no catch, free of charge. And that will help you, hopefully, the next consult you do, just be a little bit more confident. And then Instagram is the main place that I hang out. So as I mentioned earlier, just at Adam Hayley 1. And as a thank you for listening to me waffle on, if you head on to my Instagram profile, I'm making this up as I go along, just freeballing here. If you head on to my Instagram page, then just drop me a quick DM and say that you'd come off the back of this podcast. I'll give you the sales script ebook that I mentioned, and then I'll also forward you something I'm working on at the moment, which is like a content creation calendar. Because I know it's probably the second thing that a lot of trainers are struggling with, is producing, what the fuck do I post about? So I've come up with a couple of systems to help that. So it's not finished yet, but if you drop me a DM, say you've come off of this podcast, then I'll get you one of the first versions of that over as well as a thank you for listening to me waffle on for the last just over an hour now.
Awesome. So head over there, guys, and go and get those awesome resources. Want to thank you so much for coming on the show, mate. It's great to connect with you, and thanks for sharing all your value and your stories and your experience with us.
No worries. Hope it was helpful.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy it, I'd be really grateful if you could leave a short review on one of the platforms. And if you're a personal trainer in a commercial gym with 500 plus members and you want to fast track your income growth and learn how to sign multiple new clients a week, reach out to me personally through Facebook or Instagram and just drop me a private message so we can get the conversation started and see if you could be a good fit for one of our programs. All the links to my social can be found in the show notes, so we can connect there. See you next week.